The story begins with an accident that had happened to Joestar family. Their cart had stumbled over the cliff. Then came a robber called Dario Brando who wanted to take benefit of this chance to steal Joestar's treasure. It turned out that Joestar and his son was alive while his wife had died. Joestar misunderstood and thought Dario was about to save them. He thanked him and gave him respect. Dario, who was sleek, confirmed it and wanted to take benefit of it. Several years has passed. Joestar's son grows up into a young man called Jonathan Joestar, or so-called JoJo. He lives in a wealthy family. On the other hand, Dario also has a son of JoJo's age called Dio Brando. Different from JoJo, he lives miserably in a poor family. One day, Dario is severely ill. In his last time, he gives Dio a letter to Joestar containing a request of taking care of Dio. Several days later, Dio visits Joestar Mansion and he is accepted as adopted son. Butit reveals that Dio has bad intention to take over the Joestar's wealth. He pretends being a good boy in front of his adopted father, but he shows his true nature to JoJo because he is jealous with him. JoJo and Dio never get along since their first meeting and often get involved in a quarrel. One day, JoJo is with a woman named ERINA PENDLETON. They are falling in love, and it makes Dio, who is always jealous with JoJo, decides to ruin their relationship by kissing ERINA. This incident makes her avoiding JoJo because she felt she had been stained and not worthy to stay by his side. It makes JoJo mad and starts to fight Dio. 7 years has passed, JoJo and Dio has grown up and Joestar falls sick. One day, JoJo is examining a stone mask in his home. He figures out that the mask reacts to humans' blood. He takes the mask and wants to hide it. He accidentally finds a letter from Dario Brando. It makes him realize that his father's illness is caused by Dio. Dio has tried to poison Joestar secretly. It ends with them involved in a fight. This time, JoJo manages to slam Dio due to his willing to protect his father. Then JoJo set off the journey to London to find the antidote to his father. Meanwhile, Dio finds out about the mask and intends to use the mask to kill JoJo. At another place, JoJo has arrived in London. Suddenly, he is blocked by 3 thugs and the fight is soon to happen.
Tattoo, run!
But JoJo succeeds, overpowering them. One of the men, called Speedwagon, feels that JoJo didn't take this fight seriously. If he had done, Speedwagon might have died. It makes him amazed and has great respect of JoJo. Then he tells JoJo where he can get the antidote for his father. On the other hand, Dio is outside to test the stone mask. It turns out that the mask possesses a mysterious power. Anyone who put the mask on will turn into a vampire. He is frightened and is attacked by the vampire. He's even ready to accept his death. Soon, the night changes into daylight. The vampire is struck by the sunlight and died. It reveals that the vampire's weakness is the sunlight. Several days later, JoJo has acquired a proof that Dio had attempted to poison his father. Then he calls his father to come home to arrest him. Dio, who is being cornered, stabs JoJo with a knife, but his father protects him. Dio puts on the stone mask, which is activated using Joestar's blood. The cops shoot him until he falls. He wakes up and turns into a vampire and kills the cops who have shot him. Then the fight between JoJo and Dio happens.
I should thank you for the source of...
JoJo burns his house and tries to throw Dio into the fire. Dio is burnt and struck into the sharp statue. He is burnt down along with JoJo's house. Several days later, JoJo, who is wounded, is treated by ERINA, and their past love blooms again. At another place, Dio is actually still alive. He tries to build a troupe. He changes a famous assassin named Jack the Ripper into a vampire that subjects to him. Meanwhile, JoJo meets someone named Will Antonio ZEPPELI. Suddenly, ZEPPELI stabs JoJo with his fingers that activate his Hammond power or wave power. In other words, ZEPPELI has raised JoJo's hidden power and reveals his fate to fight against the wooden mask. Several days later, Speedwagon hears news that there is a problem arising in Wind Knight's lot. He assumes this accident was caused by Dio and his vampire troops. Then they head towards the area, but in their way they are blocked by Jack the Ripper, who was transformed into a vampire. Their fight between ZEPPELI against Jack begins.
Fear in the eye! Bravery is our birthright! For all the abilities they may bring, it's no better than me!
ZEPPELI beats up Jack and makes him flee. Then JoJo is in charge of chasing him. Moreover, he is also challenged to defeat him without spilling a drop of wine he is holding. This is a method to control his wave power. Finally, JoJo successfully defeats him. The 3 of them continue their journey until they arrive in Wind Knight's lot. Suddenly, a boy steals their luggages. They run to chase him. It turned out he had been hypnotized by a vampire. Not long after, Dio appears on the scene. ZEPPELI attempts to attack him, but his punch can be stopped right away. Dio possesses a power that enables him to freeze anything he touches. ZEPPELI is severely injured, but JoJo hurried to help him. Dio releases two of his vampire troops called Tarkus and Bruford. Their one-on-one combat between JoJo and Bruford starts. They fight until both of them fall into the water. In the water, JoJo can't use his power because the wave power needs rhythm of breathing. Then, JoJo is searching for somic air recourse that is collected in the stones. He inhales and activates his power. After that, he attacks Bruford with overdrive moves which causing him thrown to the surface.
Down here, the water, overdrive!
However, he hasn't lost yet. The fight continues on the surface. Again, JoJo releases his overdrive moves to attack Bruford, and this time he successfully defeats him. At the last moment, Bruford returns into human. He thanks him and gives his sword to JoJo. Bruford has been defeated, but they have one more opponent, Tarkus. They decide to flee by making a paragliding with a wave energy. Tarkus tries his luck to chase after them into a building. Then the fight between JoJo and Tarkus happens. JoJo is captured and tied with a rope. He is exhausted after fighting against Bruford. ZEPPELI is ready to take a one-on-one combat with Tarkus. Tarkus successfully launches attack on ZEPPELI and split his body in two. He has nearly died, and in his last time, he gives all his life energy to JoJo. It makes JoJo rise up stronger than ever and defeats Tarkus.
Be allowed to continue. This is done. Now you'll have to do better than that!
JoJo and Speedwagon leave the place. On their way, they meet Dyer and Straits. They are ZEPPELI's best friends who had learned from the same master named Tom Petty. After that, they all unite and head towards Dio's headquarters to attack him. Dyer attacks Dio with his kick, but he is suddenly congealed when he touches him and died in his hands. JoJo is getting furious and attacks him with the sword which was given by Bruford. The sword is charged with the power of waves, so he's able to slash him. JoJo focuses the wave energy on his hands and covers up with fire.
Struth! Flames coming from his glove!
As a result, Dio is dripped and nearly to death with only his head remaining. On the other side, JoJo finally marries ERINA. They set off to United States of America for a honeymoon on a cruise. But again, on their way, they meet Dio. Then the final battle between Jonathan Joestar against Dio starts. Dio has transformed all the passengers into vampires and is intended to take over JoJo's body. JoJo fights against Dio's subordinate called Wang Chung. He transfers the energy of waves into his body and takes control of it. JoJo plans to explode the ship by breaking the engine and using Chun. Actually, ERINA has already ready to die with JoJo, but JoJo will not let that to happen. He asks ERINA to save a baby who is in the ship. JoJo held Dio's head and died in the explosion. Meanwhile, ERINA and the baby are saved. 50 years has passed and Speedwagon has changed into an old man. He, who was a robber, is a wealthy businessman in oil sector. Besides that, he has built a foundation in any sector. Speedwagon meets Straits and leave for Mexico to investigate something. They enter into an ancient place which there is a wooden mask and statues that resemble humans. Straits picks up the wooden mask and put it on. He has actually hunger for power and eternal life. On the other hand, a new character appears named Joseph Joestar, or so-called JoJo. Joseph is JoJo from Jonathan Joestar, so the name of JoJo is not merely pointing to one person, but also to the descendants of Joestar family. Straits, who is filled with wooden force, visits JoJo with intention on murdering him. Then happens a fight between Joseph Joestar against Straits. JoJo takes out his machine gun and shoots him insanely, but to no avail. The fight continues. JoJo puts several grenades onto his body that causes a great explosion and destroying his body. However, Straits is still alive. Then JoJo flees and arrives at the brig. He plans to find a secluded place so that people won't get the impact. The battle goes on. JoJo launches punch on Straits' face with the power of the wave that makes him badly injured. Then Straits transmits wave energy and explodes himself. In his last moment, he tells about the Pillar Man who will conquer the world. Here appears a new character called Stroheim. He is a major from the German military force. He wants to wake the Pillar Men in Mexico and makes them stronger to be their weapon. Stroheim is treating Speedwagon, who is injured. He wants him to talk about the incident 50 years ago about the wooden mask and Joestar family. Then JoJo hurries up to Mexico. In his way, he is blocked by someone from Germany military force named Donovan. The fight happens and JoJo beats him up easily.
gentleman for letting me rest.
What are you talking? This is cactus.
This was my goal all along.
Meanwhile, Stroheim has successfully risen up one of the pillar humans and named him Santana. Stroheim thinks that Santana will subject to the one who had risen him up, but he turns the rebellion. Not long after that, JoJo enters the research base and meets with Santana. The battle between JoJo against Santana happens. Santana possesses a power that can absorb humans inside. JoJo is absorbed into Santana's body, but he has a great plan. He intentionally makes himself absorbed and explodes the wave energy from within. It makes Santana ruined, but it's not sufficient to kill him. Then JoJo carries him out to get the sunlight. Similar to vampires, the pillar men are weak towards sunlight. If they get hit by the sunlight, they will return into statues. When he is outside, Santana will get into Stroheim to protect him from the sunlight. Then Stroheim plans on exploding himself with a grenade. But it turns out not enough to kill him. He gets out and is exposed to the sunlight. He tries to escape and enters the dark well. JoJo tries to prevent him from escaping, but it turns out the well is filled with the water that reflects the sunlight. At last, Santana turns back into a statue. Several days later, JoJo and Speedwagon set off to Roma to meet someone called Kaiser ZEPPELI. Looking from the name, he is the green child of Antonio ZEPPELI. At another place, German military force finds a pillar human again. When it is being examined, one of them has risen and murders the entire military force. After that, he rises up his two comrades. This time, 3 strongest pillar men have risen. They are called Cars, Wham, and AC/DC. Their intention is to find an object called an Asian red stone. It hides a mysterious power. As it is used along with a wooden mask, they will receive the real eternity and makes them immune to the sun. The human civilization is in danger if they manage to bring out their plan. Meanwhile, JoJo with Speedwagon and ZEPPELI come to the scene and meet with the pillar men. The fight is soon to happen, but their power is far below the pillar men. Chip fights against Wham and is almost to die, then he makes an agreement. He asks for 1 month to train himself and will challenge him later on. Wham agrees and he put a poisonous ring on JoJo. The ring will show reaction after 1 month. It prevents him to run away from him. If JoJo wants an antidote, he must defeat him first. Actisu also puts on a ring to JoJo's body. Now JoJo has 2 poisonous rings in his body. After the incident, JoJo practices the power of the wave. He is met with ZEPPELI's master named Lisa Lisa. Lisa Lisa is actually Joseph Joestar's mother, but he is unaware of this. Her real name is Elizabeth. He was the baby that had been saved by ERINA on the incident 50 years ago. Then he married to ERINA's son called Georgi Joestar. Then JoJo and ZEPPELI learn under her supervision. In the middle of their practice, Lisa shows them the Asian red stone. It turns out the stone is protected by the Wave Knight since thousands of years ago, so it doesn't fall into the pillar men. Now Lisa Lisa is in charge to protect the stone. After training for quite long, JoJo and ZEPPELI has come to the last practice. They will fight Lisa Lisa's subordinates. ZEPPELI will fight Messina, while JoJo will fight against Loggins. But an unpredictable thing happens. A CDC comes to their place and kills Loggins. It makes JoJo must oppose a CDC. A CDC possesses a power to boil his blood, and the opponent who is exposed to the blood will be burnt. It's also able to take out his vein as his weapon. JoJo, who has grown stronger, makes a thread to tie off Axe DC. The thread is streamed with the wave energy, and it manages to destroy him.
Energy! That must die already!
Finally, JoJo picks up the antidote and drinks it. However, his body is still filled with 1 more poison from Wham. It turns out a CDC hasn't died yet. A part of his brain is stuck in JoJo's body, but JoJo is unaware of this. When he heads back to Lisa Lisa's place, he meets Lisa Lisa's assistant called Susie Q. Then a CDC possesses Susie Q and succeeds to send the red stone to his comrades. JoJo and ZEPPELI work together to remove a CDC from Susie Q's body. Finally, a CDC is removed and died from sunburn. Immediately, JoJo, ZEPPELI, and Lisa Lisa search for the Asian red stone. Soon they see the stone in the hands of the German military force. Bakars has already found out and immediately heads to the base and kills many people. There he encounters with Stroheim. He reveals that Stroheim is still alive after being struck by the grenade explosion. Then JoJo and Cars try to chase the stone and fall into the ravine. JoJo finally seizes back the red stone with ZEPPELI's help while Cars is fallen. After that, they make plan to attack the Pillar Humans' base. ZEPPELI holds a personal grudge against the Pillar Humans because they had killed his father named Mario ZEPPELI. Recklessly, he breaks into the base and fights alone against Wham. Apparently, Kaiser ZEPPELI has a great power and makes Wham injured badly, but at the end, He is struck by Wham's attack that puts him in a verge of death. Then he takes out remnants of his wave energy and gives it to JoJo. JoJo and Lisa continue their journey to explore the Pillar Human base and meet Kars. Kars intends to mobilize entire vampire troops to kill them, but Lisa offers him an agreement. She wants a one-on-one battle and betting the Asian Red Stone. If JoJo and Lisa lose, they will give the stone voluntarily. They agree and JoJo will fight against Wham, while Lisa will fight against Kars. The next morning, they gather at one place and are ready to start the battle. Firstly, JoJo will face Wham. Wham asks a battle with a cart. This battle is also watched for vampires. Soon the battle begins. JoJo attacks Wham with rope tied in his hand. The rope is streamed with the wave energy and makes Wham's hands injured. This attack is able to break Wham's fighting spirit due to his pride. He can't believe he has been tricked by JoJo. Then he hurts his eyes until he is blind. This is to restore his spirit. Then they arrive at the second round. This time JoJo and Wham are given arrow as their weapons. They are given an option to choose one of the two arrows in different size. JoJo chooses the big arrow while Wham selects the small one. JoJo's choose makes him difficult to use it due to its size. However, the arrow has more power. Meanwhile, Wham manages to shoot JoJo from behind. JoJo was shot and fell. At that moment, the arrow that he is carrying hit the ground and opened. He shoots the arrow by bouncing the bullet, then Wham unwittingly is hit by his shot from behind. The battle continues. Wham releases his signature wind style. The wind absorbs everything near him. Then JoJo throws the oil bottle and makes Wham absorb the oil into his body. Then JoJo ignites a fire that makes one explode. JoJo manages to win the fight. The next battle is Lisa against Kars. Kars doesn't care of the one-on-one battle ethic. He summons his vampire troops and finally manages to snatch the stone from Lisa. Knowing this, JoJo is furious and beats Kars until he is fallen and stabbed by the sharp object. JoJo and his friends think he has died. However, without everyone realizes it, Kars put on the stone mask, which is combined with the Asian Red Stone. It makes him evolve into a prefect creature. He is immune to sunlight and is able to create anything he wants. JoJo tries to escape, but Kars grows his wings to chase him. It turns out JoJo has intention to seize the plane. The battle content is in the air. JoJo plans to bring Kars into the hot lava. However, Kars is still survived after getting into the lava. After that, JoJo uses the red stone power and makes the mountain erupt and sent them flying into the air. Due to the great power of the red stone, Kars is thrown into the space. He is congealed and floated forever in space. After that incident, people think JoJo has died fallen from the height. They even hold a funeral for him. JoJo suddenly appears in the funeral and surprises everyone. He also introduces Suzy Q as his wife. At the end, everyone laughs happily. And the story ends here. What do you think about anime that we have discussed? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel by activating the bell to receive notifications from the next video. Thank you very much for watching, and until the next video.